Welcome to another Cardano update. Like always, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. I'm sorry if this video is a bit late today, but I had some stuff to take care of, but that does not really matter because right now it's the perfect time to make a video because the chart is going up. So before I even talk about this setup, I want to mention the Bitcoin chart. Bitcoin right now is about to break all-time highs. It's at like, let's say $1,000 away from doing that. It could do that by the time I post this video, so this should not shock anyone, but I pretty much called this a couple of days ago when I made a video telling you that Bitcoin did exactly what it did in the previous 3 cycles. It got to the bull market support band and it found support there, and that's exactly when it bounced. And by the way, this move happened at the end of September, exactly like we did every single cycle so far. Also, I showed you another chart. I showed you the weekly returns chart on the Bitcoin chart. Let me quickly go to this week on this year. So I think we are here. Historically, Bitcoin starts going up quite a lot in the 39th week. As you can see right now, we're already up about 8%. But this does not mean we're going to go down next week. Actually, it means that we might continue going up just because, for example, in 2021, as you can see, we had 3 green wicks in a row. Each of these weeks were, as you can see, a pretty big move to the upside. We went up about 13% each week. And that's exactly what happened in 2017 as well. Here we went up 20%, then 5%, and then another 24%. And it's the exact same story in 2013, 8%, 26%, and 18%. So I think Bitcoin is going to continue breaking all-time highs for the next couple of weeks. And I think it's going to top by November or December of this year. But that does not mean that the altcoins will top during that time either. I think the altcoins will probably top in January because that's when I'm expecting Bitcoin dominance to be at around, let's say, 45 to 41%. Before I continue with that, however, I showed you something else a couple of days ago. I showed you the Fear and Greed Index. When I made a video, I think the Fear and Greed Index was at about 33, which showed us that the market was in fear. I believe I can even scroll up on this and I can show you the update. So the Fear and Greed was at 33 and Bitcoin was at $110,000, and I showed you a screenshot, I think from January, when the Fear and Greed Index was at about 50, and that's when Bitcoin was at $94,000. And this was pretty funny to me because Bitcoin being at $110,000 and everybody being fearful during that time is something that I never knew could happen, but it happened apparently. So people were fearful when Bitcoin was at $110,000, which I think is just very funny. I also said this right here: be greedy when people are fearful and be fearful when people are greedy. And if you took that advice, which you didn't have to because this is not financial advice, but if you listened to what I had to say here, I mean, this was a pretty, good bottom indicator just because we had a reaction to the bull market support band and just because historically Bitcoin goes up in October, and also because, it's Bitcoin we are talking about here. Bitcoin usually only tops in November or December of the post-halving year. Also, going back to the Fear and Greed Index, right here I showed you the 2021 cycle, but a similar thing happened here as well. It got to extreme fear in September, and then in October it bounced off quite a lot, and that's when we found a top later in November. So I think a similar thing will happen right now. But let's forget about Bitcoin for a minute and let's talk about what you are here for, which is Cardano. Cardano seems to be in some kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setup. I am not sure if the third wave is already in or if we are still trying to complete it, but we should get above the resistance level right here pretty soon. Resistance is still at 90.8 cents, but we are above the 618, which is pretty much telling us that we are probably not getting another low just because a fourth wave or a supposed fourth wave of this 1, 2, 3, 4 setup would not really get to the 618, it would usually get to the 50% or the 382, and we already got above these, so I think there's a chance the low is already in. But of course, until we get these 5 waves up and until we get the ABC down where we respect support levels, I cannot confirm that the low is in because this could easily break down, and at the end of the day we are still in a downtrend over here. We have not gotten above any significant highs, so getting above the 786 would be bullish, but to completely confirm that we are not gonna get another low, we need to break above that high right there, which is at 94 cents, and that's gonna tell us that we are probably not going any lower. Also keep in mind, right now Cardano is exactly at the red trend line on the chart, which connects to these other highs right here, and also connects to the previous 2021 all-time highs. So there's gonna be some resistance in this area, but getting above this red line could prove to be extremely bullish, and if the third wave is not already in right here, maybe the chart is gonna turn in some kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setup, which could put us above the second wave high. When we get the ABC down, we could use the red trend line as support, and that's when we bounce and we start the much bigger third wave of the third wave of the third wave. So I think that's all I have for this video. I'm not sure if I have anything else to cover here, but I'm gonna talk about the daily chart tomorrow and about the weekly as well. Also, before I finish this video, I want to mention the weekly actually, because here we got above the moving average on the RSI, which is a very good sign. So I think we're about to get a move like this over here, just because that's exactly what we did over here. We slightly dropped below the moving average on the weekly. If you quickly zoom in on this, we dropped below the moving average, just like we did right now. We had a wick below it, and then we actually went, from 33 cents to about $1.30 in a matter of a couple of weeks. So I think we are ready. I think the chart is ready, but it all depends on what Bitcoin dominance wants to do right now. If Bitcoin dominance breaks above the moving average on the weekly RSI right there, it could be a sign that maybe we're gonna get to the bull market support band and even the 200-day moving average, or in the worst case scenario, even back to 66% dominance before we start the much bigger drop. So if we do not get rejected right now, yeah, that could lead to a dominance rally, which is gonna mean that the altcoins might not go up as much as Bitcoin. But even if that is the case, at some point we are still expecting this move over here. If it happens this month, or if it happens in December or at the end of December, it's not gonna matter, because by January of 2026 we're expecting Bitcoin dominance to be down there, because that's exactly where Bitcoin dominance was in the previous 2 cycles as well. Exactly in January, it formed, as you can see, lows in January of 2018 and in 2022. So we're probably gonna be somewhere in this area by January of 2026. That's pretty much all I have. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts, and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.